I was nobody. Just another girl with a guitar and a dream that barely paid rent. I played underground shows, the kind where the bar lights are brighter than the stage, and the only applause comes from your drunk roommate because she promised she'd always cheer the loudest. Most nights I went home smelling like beer and disappointment. Music was the only thing that felt like mine even when no one was really listening. That night I was lying on the floor of my studio apartment, scrolling through my timeline like everyone else, when I posted a dumb tweet about AI and emotional intelligence. Something like, if robots learn to cry, maybe they'll finally understand my music. I didn't think twice about it. It was just a joke. But within minutes, my notifications exploded. Likes, retweets, then DMs. One of them stood out. It didn't have a profile picture, just a black square. The message read, "That joke about AI, brilliant. Can I take you to dinner?" I laughed out loud. Some weirdo playing tech prints in the DMs. I was about to delete it when my phone rang. No caller ID. I let it ring 4 times before curiosity got the better of me. I answered with the most cautious hello I could muster. A calm voice, measured low, unmistakably male, said, "It's real." I meant what I said. I didn't know what stunned me more, the fact that he called or the fact that somehow I already recognized that voice. From interviews, news clips, podcasts. I sat straight up. "Elon?" I asked, heart thudding. He chuckled quietly. "You're clever." I like that. I didn't say yes right away. I mean, what would you do when the world's most powerful man suddenly steps into your timeline, into your life, asking to meet like it's nothing? Felt like a prank. Like someone was filming me for some cruel version of reality TV. But 2 days later, there I was, standing in front of a private restaurant with my fingers trembling on the edge of my coat pocket. A black Tesla pulled up. The window rolled down. He nodded once. No security. No words. Just that knowing look. Dinner was strange. Not in a bad way. Just otherworldly. He talked about Mars like it was down the street. About consciousness, AI, the future of neural tech. I didn't know whether to be fascinated or terrified. I told him he sounded like a cyborg trying to pass as human. He laughed. And it wasn't forced, it was real. That's when I knew something was different. He listened. Really listened. And when I talked about how I felt invisible in the music world, how I made songs that sounded like heartbreak and nobody cared, he said, "You create from chaos." That's rare. I had never heard someone say something so clinical and yet so intimate. He didn't flirt. He didn't charm. He observed. And somehow it was more powerful than any line I'd ever heard. We didn't kiss that night. We didn't even touch. But something shifted. A thread had been pulled tight between 2 very different worlds. His made of algorithms and rocket fuel, mine of melodies and missed chances, and it refused to let go. The next time we met, it was on the roof of a building I couldn't even name. He pointed to the stars and told me where he'd be in 20 years. I pointed to my heart and said I was still trying to figure out where I was now. He told me, "No one can know, not yet. I want to protect this." And for a while I believed him. I told myself that keeping us a secret wasn't a red flag. It was a precaution. After all, his world wasn't like mine. His name was worth billions. Mine wasn't even worth a Wikipedia page. Our relationship unfolded behind tinted windows, in penthouse suites and silent elevators. Private jets whisked us away to cities I had only ever seen in movies. I used to write songs about escape, but this was surreal. Rooftop dinners in Tokyo. Stargazing in Iceland. Nights where we talked until the sun reminded us the world still existed. He opened up in fragments. Tiny confessions dropped between technical monologues. About his childhood, about pressure. About the fear of never being enough no matter how much he built. He was always building. That's what I learned quickly. Love didn't stop the rockets. I was never the center of his universe. But I felt like I was something he hadn't expected to find orbiting him. He once told me, Every time I look at you, I remember. But every time I scrolled and saw someone else standing next to him, even just in theory, it felt like I was slowly disappearing. He told me it was for protection, that if people knew they'd rip me apart. And maybe he was right. But I was already starting to feel the rip inside me. I started skipping shows, missing studio sessions. My manager warned me, "You're disappearing, Claire." I wanted to tell her I wasn't vanishing. I was just hiding in someone else's world. His world was chaos. Every week, another crisis, a lawsuit, a tweet gone viral, a stock market reaction, a media firestorm. He never stopped moving. And slowly, he stopped coming home. He'd still text me, "Thinking of you." Or soon. But weeks passed. Then months. I became a placeholder in my own life. When I found out I was pregnant, I stared at the test like it was a glitch in the universe. Me, a kid. And him? A man who hadn't even remembered my birthday that year? When I told him, he paused. He didn't speak for nearly a minute. Then he said, "I'll be there." But the look in his eyes wasn't. She shoved a mic in my face and asked, "Does he love you?" I looked at the lens, smiled like I'd rehearsed it 100 times and said, "Ask him." At home it all came crashing down. I confronted him. Asked him why I had to suffer alone for something we built together. Why the world only saw me as a scandal. He sat down exhausted and said, "I never asked for this. I was just trying to protect what we had." I looked him in the eyes and said, "I was okay being your secret, until I became your shame." He didn't respond. He just looked away. And in that moment I realized he could create new worlds, but he didn't know how to exist in this one. Not with me. I gave birth alone. He was at a conference in Berlin speaking on the future of humanity, while I was lying in a sterile room in Los Angeles, breathing through pain that split me in two. No cameras. No flowers. No hand to hold. Just me, a nurse who called me brave, and a tiny cry that changed everything. When he arrived hours later, he looked tired. He kissed my forehead like a formality and stared at the baby in my arms with wide, unreadable eyes. "He's beautiful," he said, almost like a stranger admiring someone else's child. Then softer. "This isn't what I expected." I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I simply looked down at the tiny face in my arms and whispered, "Maybe it's what I needed." That night we sat in silence. He scrolled through his phone. I stared at the city lights through the hospital window, feeling like I was watching a version of myself disappear into the skyline. We went home, but it was never really home again. We were two people bound by something miraculous and completely unprepared for it. I tried to make it work. The late-night feedings, the quiet mornings. I tried writing songs again. He was always gone. Even when he was physically there, he wasn't present. One morning I found a handwritten note on the kitchen counter. "You deserve peace. I don't know how to give that to you. I'm sorry." No goodbye. No final conversation. Just silence. The same silence that had always existed between his world and mine, only now it echoed louder than ever. I packed my things and left without a fight. No media headlines. No big exit. Just one woman and her child, stepping out of a shadow that had never really warmed her. I moved to a quiet place up north, a town no one cared to tweet about. I rented a little house with peeling paint and a small porch. I started writing again. Not for the charts, not for attention, just for me. And slowly I began to feel my fingers again. My voice. My rhythm. I was still broken in places, but at least they were my pieces to put back together. Months passed. Then one morning a letter arrived. No return address. The handwriting on the envelope was familiar, careful, mechanical, oddly beautiful. I opened it, hands trembling. "You taught me how to feel. I couldn't love you the way you deserved. But I'll always remember the sound of your laughter on that rooftop in Tokyo. I hope you're still making music. Even if I can't hear it anymore, I believe the world needs it." There was no signature. But I didn't need one. That night, I sat at the synth piano he had once gifted me, the only thing I brought from the old life. I pressed the keys and let the sound fill the empty space. And from somewhere inside me, the song began. I called it Rockets and Rain. It was soft, raw. It told the story of love and distance, of stars and silence, of a girl who wanted to be heard and a man who only knew how to listen in fragments. I uploaded it anonymously, not expecting anything. It went viral within a week. People called it haunting, said it sounded like grief wrapped in hope. They asked who the voice belonged to, what inspired the words. I never answered. I didn't need to, because I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for the girl who fell in love in secret and survived the silence. I was doing it for the baby who smiled when the music played, like he recognized his mother in the melody. I was doing it for the man who never really knew how to stay, but once, in a moment of rare clarity, had told me I built beauty. And maybe that was enough. He's still the richest man alive. I'm still just a girl with a guitar. But somewhere in the silence between our worlds, there was love. And it was real, even if it couldn't stay.